You know, I could end this video with just that. It's the embodiment of what's wrong with the show these days, and I won't have to suffer for the next half hour or so. But I will watch this, a comment that I read long ago came to my memory. A comment that I sadly couldn't find because I'm a lazy fuck. It says something like, I don't understand the immense hate towards the newer seasons, it's just a stupid dance. And it was at that moment when I realized that not much people went into full depth about why the newer seasons of The Simpsons are disliked by a big part of the internet. Yeah, the point where the show started declining has been discussed back and forth, and the quality of the current episodes is sometimes such in dedicated review channels, forums and threads. But after going through some old episodes, I started to really think about it, and I believed I reached a complete conclusion for the topic. So, my dear two viewers, this is why I think people hate Modern Simpsons. So, I'll start by saying that this is my first serious review of something, so it's probably going to be messy, but I'll try to keep it coherent, and second, this is just my opinion. Just like anyone, I could be mistaken, and if you like the Modern Simpsons, don't take this as a personal attack. Just like I have the right to my opinion, you also got the right to your personal opinion, and the right to call me a dirty weeb in the comments. I think I'll start by mentioning the great video from Super Eyepatch Wolf, The Fall of the Simpsons. What happened? You may have already watched it since it has more than 6 million views. It provides an amazing analysis on what made the Simpsons fall and become this new bizarre version known as Zombie Simpsons. I really want you to watch it since 1. It's great, and 2. I'm going to borrow a few points from it to make some of my arguments. Specifically, I'm referring to the 3 main factors that made the old Simpsons so great: the satire, the comedy, and the heart, all equally important to the show and key in discovering what makes the new Simpsons episodes feel so low quality in comparison. Do you know why The Simpsons felt so unique and innovative back when it started airing? It may not be a 90s kid, but I do know what kind of programs were the most common around that era: sitcoms. The sitcoms dominated the television with a simple and highly repetitive formula: a happy family that lived daily situations and funny adventures where a live audience laughed at the innocent jokes that the characters makes. Put all that in a box, mass produce it, and it will eventually get you millions of dollars. However, The Simpsons were different. But why? As many may know, Matt Groening, after moving to Los Angeles in 1977, started to create a series of comic strips named Live in Hell, based on his own experiences after becoming a writer. These are considered the precursors of The Simpsons, and their main characteristic is the satire. A satire that Matt created to mirror the situations in real life that regular people like him could face in their everyday life at work, school, or home. Of course, after creating the concept of The Simpsons, Matt decided they should inherit the satire that he used in Live in Hell, but in lower doses. As a concept, The Simpsons was a satire of the sitcom genre. The family was that dysfunctional, the city they lived in was sometimes insane, and of course, these two factors affected their everyday lives. The satire was not only present as the concept behind the series, it was also present on the themes that the episodes handled. We have March vs. the Monorail, an episode based around how a single man in a carnival theater was able to manipulate an entire city into using their money to invest in something useless and dangerous for them just because he had good charisma and a catchy son. Homer Batman also comes to mind, a story about how a misunderstanding made the entire city go after Homer because they believed he had sexually harassed a babysitter, making his life miserable by stalking him and manipulating the story as much as they can to make Homer look like the worst pervert. And it only stops when Willie shows factual evidence of what happened, a premise that is still relevant today. And of course, The Joy of Sect, the episode about how a cult was able to brainwash Springfield and take advantage of them with their made-up beliefs only for the lie to be discovered in the end. I could go on and on with episodes like the Itchy and Scratchy and Poochie Show, but I think I made the point clear. So, how do Modern Simpsons handle satire? Let's just say they don't try too much. For example, let's see the episode E Might Sports. That title fucking bores me to the core of my soul. So what's the episode about? Bart becomes a gamers rise up, and what satire can this bring to the show? Well, according to the writers, just a joke where Homer and Skinner are surprised that esports generate money and the players get paid.
They pay you in cash?
Yes.
They actually pay you?
Yeah.
that is repeated.
$1,000 to play video games?
Then, if that ain't a missed potential. Like, for example, they could have mentioned how esports are rigged sometimes because the mafia is involved with them, just like with regular sports in the real life. Or how a toxic community can make a player toxic himself just because of the prolonged exposure.
Got body in my face. Oh my god! Holy shit! Wow! Are you fucking kidding me?
After all, we have Enojarse el Juego as a living proof of that shit. Or they could have done more to the topic of Summer is pushing Bar too far into this whole esports thing and he should care more about his well-being than the freaking money.
Really? It's not mean?
Homer, we're obsessive sports fathers, so we're gonna teach you how to motivate the only way we know how.
Don't hit me!
Oh, we're gonna hit you alright. With a song.
If anything, the premise of the episodes make me realize that it smells like boomer in here. It feels like they fear making satire. I wonder, right? Alright, it's for later. Another instance I could mention is Throw Grandpa from the Dane, which in one sentence is basically an episode that portrays Denmark as a perfect place.
And we're here in the world's most perfect amusement park. Bart and Lisa are getting along.
I'm okay with nuclear power, but wind power, frankly, it sounds dangerous.
And we separate our trash by colors.
Yep, that and some American humor.
I am a Danish 4.
I'm an American 9! How could my family want to stay here? In America, we have great TV channels like BBC America and a factory for cheesecakes. A factory! No, I'm an American, and we've got to get back to America, the greatest country on earth, 1917 to 2016.
Because everybody loves the USA.
Don't we, guys?
Look, I'm not saying that not having satire is bad, but the writers clearly don't want to write satire when they have the chance, sometimes out of pure boredom with the job, and with that, one valuable element was lost to time in the show.
What the hell was that?
This may as well be the most controversial part of this video, because after all, I'm the idiot that laughs with shit like this. Now, people usually say that comedy is subjective, but I don't completely agree with it. It's better to say that what makes you laugh is subjective. You can hear a well-executed joke, but if it doesn't resonate with you for whatever reason, you ain't laughing, my friend. I think we can all agree that comparing Modern Simpsons to Old Simpsons, Modern Simpsons just doesn't have that comedic spark that the old one had. We laugh less and less the more seasons arrive, but what exactly happened to the comedy? In my opinion, all Simpsons had some amazing comedy. I think we can all recall one or two jokes that are stuck with us since we watched them on the show from the older Simpsons. Now, if you watched a modern episode recently, are you able to recall one of their jokes? The jokes from the older Simpsons were well executed, from simple to complex, from absurd to clever. We have...
I ought to punch you in the nose, but I have to pick up my kids at school.
Are you guys anyhow?
Agents Mulder and Scully, FBI.
FBI, huh? Excuse me. All right, they're on to us. Get them back to SeaWorld.
I'm annoyed with you, Mother. Not just annoyed, angry. I'm a grown man now, and I can run my own life!
Calm down. Oh, move it. You can sit down.
We're still going antiquing on Saturday, right, Mother?
714 names. Better be more specific. Lazy, clumsy, dim-witted, monstrously ugly. Ah, nuts to this. I'll just go get Homer Simpson.
Homer, give him what he wants. Oh, Barney, leave me alone. Oops! Uh-oh.
It's easy to see why the first thing that comes to our mind when we think of the show is the comedy. So how did the Modern Simpsons manage to ruin this? The comedy got lazy. Honestly, it's not that hard for me to establish which are the points that make the comedy be low in quality. Perhaps it's because sometimes they miss the timing of the joke. It could also be because sometimes the punchline is ridiculous and lacks force, or maybe it's because the joke itself is bad. But at least I'm sure of something. There's 2 points that completely kill the comedy used in Modern Simpsons. Do you know what makes a magic trick so impressive to the viewer? It's the fact that the mage does the trick with enough speed so you can catch the little details that let you figure it out, and at the same time with your eyes catch the impressive movements done by the mage. But what will happen if the mage does the trick slowly? The movements are long and he extends them as long as he can. Well, it will be very easy to figure out the trick, and of course the trick will lose any of the impact that it can cause on you. This is the first factor that makes Modern Simpsons comedy bad. Some jokes extend for way too long. When a joke is extended beyond its limits, it just becomes lame. Yeah, sometimes it can become funny again depending on the joke and the person, but this isn't the case with these jokes.
So goodbye, Focusin. Hello, Chillaxidol.
Mom, I was just on hypochondria.edu and I think you should see something.
Are you giving your precious child the generic ADD medication, Chillaxidol?
Yes, why?
Your child may experience unwanted side effects including headaches, painful spasms, dry mouth, and whiskers, musical flatulence, involuntary Memphis juking, sudden relocation, and a symptom that can only be described as dolphining. If you or a loved one is experiencing any of these side effects, you would do well to remember that life is heartless and brutal, and the cosmos is indifferent to us all. I'd say goodbye, but what's the point?
See what I mean? But if that isn't enough for you, I got another.
Hey, you're not part of the group, no listening.
What? It's Israel. It's free country.
מה פתאום? זה לא ישראל. אל תגיד לי מה אני יכול לעשות. אני אתן לך סטירה? יא קבינימט. יא תבוא לי, אני אתן לך סטירה על הקרוב. תבוא לי, על הטוס. לא, לקח לי את זה מהקיבוץ, בקיבוץ נען. לקחת לי, מה עם האמא שלי? אל תגיד לי את זה, יבוא. Bah, okay, that's it. Because of him, no Armenian quarter. Forget it, it's gone. All thanks to Mr. Listen for free.
These are some of the worst examples of the first problem that I mentioned. Not every episode has jokes exactly like this, but you can feel how they start to extend jokes just for the sake of extending the episode. Probably because they ran out of ideas and they needed to fill time, which really says a lot about how the writers feel about the show these days. Now, start to think, what's lamer than a mage performing a trick at a slow speed? The mage explaining step by step how to do the trick, with little details included and making sure that the audience can clearly see every angle of the trick. For some reason that I can't figure out, the writers feel that they need to explain the joke to their audience, and this is probably the biggest stuff that comedy can receive in a show like this. There's a lot of this around the episodes.
I'm glad to hear it.
Oh, dum dum diddly.
Diddly,
Diddly diddly. Diddly.
Nice brother Reader.
Diddly meet you.
I heard movie meetings were horrible, but I had no idea. You're acting? Could you hold up one hand so I'll know?
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Homie.
Yes, Marge, you have a question?
Oh, she's acting.
Right. She's acting.
Lisa, do you know how I've gotten to this point in life? 2 things. Blind faith and a little wine. Can you get me the wine that I keep in Mommy's knitting basket? I know where you keep it. There was no knitting in there.
I'm not your dad. I'm the actor playing him.
You need all that padding to play Homer?
Yes, and I'm fat to begin with.
Hey, no horseplay! Horseplay! Marge, just what I said!
You probably can find a few as well, but I recommend you don't try it for your mental sanity. The quality of the jokes and humor of the show has declined to a point where all they are missing is a character coming out of the corner and screaming while a laugh track is on the background and they start playing a 90-second credit song. They just make me want to take a big nap. And with how used these are in the show, it makes the quality of the whole episode drop with each minute it passes.
That's the joke.
You suck, McBain!
There's an element that has periodically vanished from the show since it started its decline. Something that made the older Simpsons present, something that touched us in a personal level and gave us something to think about, something that made those episodes stay stuck in our memories. The heart, not only of the Simpsons as a family, but of the whole show. The final ingredient to make The Simpsons stand out from every other sitcom of the time was a genuine heart, full of feelings. So I think we can all remember the song Happy Birthday Lisa from the episode Start Raving That.
Lisa, it's your birthday. Happy birthday, Lisa.
The final moment of Lisa's substitute.
Whenever you feel like you're alone and there's nobody you can rely on, this is all you need to know.
Okay, just read the note.
By redemption in March Be Not Proud.
Oh, Bart, I can't believe you did this.
I wanted to surprise you for Christmas.
Oh, sweetie, this is the best present a mother could get.
The credits of Modern Simpsons. And of course, the heart of the show shined the most during these memorable moments. But what made it so great is that it didn't stop there. Instead, it was extended to the full show, perhaps sometimes in a subtle way, but it was always there. Just think about it. The reason why Homer always went back to the nuclear plant was because of his powerful love for his family. He may have been dumb and done things that affected them every now and then, but he always wanted to do the right thing and give them the best. We get to see the foundation of this love in I Married Marge, where he just wanted to give his wife and son the things they deserved.
Not a day goes by that we don't thank God for all three of you.
Marge and Homer had a good marriage. Yes, it had some problems every now and then, but they both knew when and how to support each other. At the end of the day, they were absolutely happy with each other and their family, like we can see at the beautiful end of Doughless. Bart was a cool kid stereotype of the 90s, doing mischiefs at school and home, but he had a heart and a conscience that always told him that he needed to redeem himself, to do better and to keep trying. I already mentioned Marge Be Not Proud, but another example is Bart Gets an F.
Oh, now I know how George Washington felt when he surrendered Fort Necessity to the French in 1754.
What?
Oh, you know 1754, the famous defeat of the French. Oh,
My God, Bart, you're right.
so...
You just demonstrated applied knowledge.
And Lisa, what an interesting character he was. The one that kept reminding the family to snap back at reality when they needed it, and curiously the one that dealt with a common problem for everyone, finding both your identity and your reason, like it's shown in one of the oldest episodes of the show, Moaning Lisa. And I think we can all relate to this line in particular.
I'm just wondering, what's the point?
Of course, this wasn't only a dynamic between the characters, it was something that involved the viewer as well, just like the comedy and the satire. After all, in the same episode I just mentioned, we get a very important lesson.
I take it all back. Always be yourself. You want to be sad, honey? Be sad. We'll write it out with you. And when you get finished feeling sad, we'll still be there. From now on, let me do the smiling for both of us.
These were beautiful moments that stayed with us because of how genuine they are. So why do I say that the heart no longer exists in the show? It has to do with a point I'll talk about in a bit, but it can be summarized in They destroyed the love the family had and the message they tried to deliver to the viewer. We haven't gotten one of these in a long time. Can I try when they want to give some sort of shock for clickbait? Is this showing and telling? So let's do it. First, Homer and sometimes Marge no longer feel their children are blessings, and they consider them responsible for ruining their lives.
This beautiful man go.
Dad, I know it was fun to be young and free, but how could you ever replace us?
Pool table, jukebox, and a vacation to Bermuda.
Dad, can you please get to the part where you reassure us how glad you are we're here?
Hey, as long as I'm the pool table, I'm cool.
Sweetie, I treasure you. But before you kids, I used to know the names of people in bands. And not just the singer, but the guitar guy. Baby Bart was the worst son of a bitch you can imagine.
Yep, you heard that right. Homer said that to his own son. This, of course, has destroyed any kind of good family relation this family used to have, and we can see this on a different scene of the same episode. They pretend their lives are great as a family just so the woman doesn't run away from his husband in fear.
Why is she frowning? Is there some unhappiness you're hiding? I'm gonna stake my whole marriage on what you do next.
Smile, don't be a dink.
I love you, Miles!
You did it, sweetie. You saved 2 bad marriages.
Whatever love they had, whatever feelings they had for each other, were completely broken for the sake of whatever episode the writers needed to do. This whole dysfunctional family premise is not seen regularly, but it's there, present, from time to time, to remind you they hate each other now. And of course, let's not forget the absolute favorite premise of the Korean writers, marital problems, because of course every single couple in the show has them according to the writers. Not normal problems, but totally toxic problems that they need a therapist to solve. Gee, I wonder if they use the show as a mirror to something. Of course, this is the main problem of many episodes since the decline started. At least 2 episodes of each season have it as a main focus, and the rest can have it as a secondary focus. It's like joining a full room of Funky Kongs in Mario Kart Wii. Marge and Homer absolutely hate each other now. They start having problems for whatever ridiculous idea they said in the episode that you wonder how the fuck are they still married.
Still warm. You watched it. I finally learned how little I mean to you.
Wait! No! I'm a married man. I'm a married man.
Here, marriage is not such a sacred institution.
Right now, eating the ice. Oh my god.
Marge!
I don't even know if I'm supposed to say this, but this marriage is rotting with the stench of death.
Oh, that seems a little strong.
How about reeking like a trash can in a dog park?
Marge! You didn't tell me you're tricking all these people into thinking you're a drag queen when you're really a regular housewife in need of empowerment, and now that I say it out loud, it doesn't seem so bad.
I don't want to hear your stupid speech. I had a moment of confidence, and now it's destroyed. I'm going out. You can watch the kids and wonder where I am.
I know, of course they have to use it for that sweet clickbait. I'm getting too ahead of myself, sorry. Oh, and what about the messages that the show left to the viewer? 2 words. Lady Gaga. The universally considered worst episode of the show gives the perfect example to what happened to lessons like be yourself and try your hardest. What you need, of course, are fans to validate yourself. Fake fans, by the way, only provided by a popular singer that tries to help you with shitty advice. Look, this episode is horrid. Do yourself a favor and do not watch it. Just needed to use it as a reference. So that's how the heart of the Simpsons stopped beating.
Daddy.
Fuck. I think I need a little break before continuing. Just give me a minute. What am I supposed to do here again? What, promoting stuff? Why the fuck does he never plan out these things? Oh, okay. I guess I'll do some promoting. Hey, dear viewer and listener. Have you wanted a premium lifestyle? Have you wanted to become rich without any effort at all? Have you wanted to become the spiciest meme lover of them all? Well then, I got just the solution for you and a perfect advice for life. You're never going to make it that far in life if you never learn how to screenshot things properly. And for that, I am promoting the snipping tool that you can find in any Windows computer. I think this snipping tool, Recortes for the Spanish lads, is found on your Windows startup and you can actually just look for it. Snipping tool like here. Now just as it says, clicking on it and clicking on new and then taking the screenshot that you want to. You know, just in case you want to take a screenshot of your favorite VTuber's tweet or something like that. Now please seriously start using this tool. It's going to make life easier for everyone. No joke, I've seen people taking pictures of their screens with their phones when they have these available. But don't go and use it for malicious intent, everyone. You know, like stealing memes. That's a crime, you know? Well, that's been the Mr. Random advice of the day. We'll see you on the next occasion. And considering that Shanta's current work pace is around 6 months or so, it will probably be next time Comet Halley appears on the atmosphere of the art. Bye bye. Okay, now the next points I'll talk about are closely related to the PS3, just in a more specific way, and I feel they're worth giving a look since they also give some sort of explanation of what's going on with the show currently. You know you're screwed up big time if your show is the origin of one of the biggest examples of a negative trope. According to TV tropes, Flanderization is the act of taking a single action or trait of a character within a work and exaggerating it more and more over time until it completely consumes the character. Most always, the trait and action becomes completely outlandish and it becomes their defining characteristic. Basically, a character is just reduced to a characteristic of their former self. Of course, the trope was named after Ned Flanders, the once optimistic good neighbor that everybody loved because he was kind, innocent, cared for his family, and had a strong faith, was completely reduced to one obsessive religious fanatic who's always stalking Springfield citizens to make sure they don't do anything against God's teachings or what he believes is right.
60 Minutes. Morley Safer has questionable pants fold. The L word. Use the L word.
Now to peruse the local news.
Not only that, but during a good punch of the show, he was forever mourning Matt Flanders' death, which in retrospect is what led to his decline as a character, until the writers decided to pair him with Edna Krabappel by decision of the fans during a poll. Sadly, Marcia Wallace, Edna's voice actress, passed away and the character was retired from the show, which just left Ned doing his religious things whenever the writers need him to. Of course, Flanderization spread like a virus through the whole show, and eventually, all characters fell sick. You wanna know why the comedy has become lame and the characters lost their hearts? Well, besides from the writers not caring or not knowing what to do, it's because of the Flanderization. Homer became just dumb and lazy to the point he doesn't care about anyone else anymore, doing selfish things every time he can for the sake of comedy. Marge is now just a housewife that hates being a housewife and tries to get away from it, with Homer always getting her way. Bart is a goddamn sociopath. He doesn't think about consequences anymore.
You would mess up Mom and Dad's marriage just to get out of doing some homework?
Hey, I would end all life on this planet just to get out of doing fractions.
And he doesn't care if he hurts someone physically or mentally with his jokes. And of course, Lisa.
Well, my father works with his hands. He's a sculptor.
Do you have any brothers?
Nope. I've never seen this. Mom and Dad romantically in love. It's like rebirth. It cures all the wounds.
And always wants friends, even if she pushes away everyone who tries to get close to her.
Have you ever tried horse meat? They eat it raw in Japan, and
we can mention other citizens of Springfield, and we reach the same conclusion: they became characteristics, not characters. Mr. Burns is an old man, Smithers is gay, Moe is depressed, Skinner is forever tortured by his mom, Otto is a drug addict, Lovejoy hates his job, and many others. Some people may think that the characters were not as complex as some fans make them up to be. Flanderization isn't a big issue, but I think that while discussing about what happened to the heart of the show, you can see that these characters had depth enough to make Springfield a breathing city, that you could feel it was there. And now, it's just like a ghost town. For a show that is all about the dynamic between characters, and with this many characters, Flanderization is just a nail in the coffin that the writers themselves decided to put there, because they really had no idea what to do with the characters anymore, and didn't know how to keep them consistent while creating new stories.
Oh my god, this man is my exact double!
Ever since The Simpsons became popular and recognized in television, they started inviting celebrities from various forms of media as their guest stars. I think everyone remembers how legendary Nemo's participation in the show was.
Well, my work is done here.
What do you mean your work is done? You didn't do anything!
Didn't I?
But these resources suddenly faced the same destiny as everything else we've talked about. You see, back when the other seasons were airing, the team behind The Simpsons had a different way of thinking about their stories, since, you know, they cared and all that. They put the integrity of the story before anything else. Did you know that Leonard Nimoy wasn't the first Star Trek celebrity considered for March vs. the Monorail? In fact, they asked George Takei, but he was part of the Southern California Rapid Transit District, basically a transportation agency, and thus he didn't want to make fun of public transportation like the monorails. He demanded script changes, but they were not made, and they simply went and asked Nimoy to take part in the episode. This says a lot about how they thought guest stars should be handled. Yeah, I imagine that to invite a few of them over the years they had to do some minor changes on the episodes, but when they knew the story's integrity was in risk, they just denied and looked for someone else, even if they knew the risks of taking such decisions, since, you know, sometimes celebrities hold grudges against each other. So, let's compare that to how the currently writers do it, shall we then? As two of the worst episodes ever fucking aired. The Mouse Who Fell to Earth and Lisa Goes Gaga. Fucking kill me, please. So the main problem with these episodes is that the respective guest stars receive bootlicking sessions from the writers of the show. They push away the whole town of Springfield for their respective guests. Like, for example, Musk is a misunderstood genius in a world full of crazy people.
Sweet Columbian exposition, Musk lives.
It's on your face, too.
Before you go, is there anything you could do to give a little girl hope that the world of the future won't be as grim as all our current movies forecast? Guess humanity wants its change one birdhouse at a time.
Then Lady Gaga destroyed Lisa's characters completely. Her episode was based all around how Springfield can live without her because she has magic power bullshit and can make people happy with just a few words. And of course, the scene. Now another thing with these fucking episodes is that they both have problems with jokes. They don't try to land jokes about their guest stars because they are from a plane above us and we shall all venerate them and make a cult around them and just give them all our fucking money. They are absolutely scared of making jokes with the guest stars, like they were holding a gun against the writer team, or if the guest star will go in a rampage against the whole city, or even the whole nation if they somehow made fun out of them. What the hell happened here? Some people think that it's because guest stars appear just as themselves these days, because in the other seasons they were usually some OC do not steal. But that simply ain't it, Chief. After all, we already talked about Nemo's appearance, and there's multiple great instances when the guests play as themselves.
Aw, jeez. Okay, I'll take Millhouse. Hey, Mr. Boggs, will you be on my team?
You got yourself a player.
Damn. All right, I'll take Lewis. I'll take Jose Canseco.
Mattingly, get rid of those sideburns.
What sideburns?
You heard me, hippie.
Hello, I'm retired heavyweight boxer Jerry Cooney. Welcome to Mr. Burns' Casino. If there's anything I can do to make your visit more enjoyable, please, just let me know.
Yeah, great. See ya.
Don't forget to apply for our VIP Platinum Club for special discounts on.
Hey, I said bug off.
It's, of course, the way it's done. They weren't afraid of making jokes about them or that involved them. And of course, the story and main characters were first, the guest stars second. But now they're absolutely afraid of joking with the guest stars, and from time to time they do bootlegging sessions like the mentioned episodes. But why? Because the show nowadays has no idea of how to stay relevant, and they think that just by having guest stars and licking their butts, they will once again rise up and get an Emmy. To summarize, before they made a story and integrated a guest star, but now they look for a guest star to make a story around them.
Jingle bells, Batman smells, Robin laid an egg. Batmobile lost its wheel, the Joker got away. Hey, thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry, kid.
For me, there's multiple ways of doing references. There's the good references that are done for comedic value, there's the references that help you build a world, the references integrated to give context to your story, the reference just done for the lulz of it, the reference that are of product placements, etc. In all of those, there are one that describes Modern Simpsons perfectly. Reference done to try to stay relevant, or how I like to call them, please watch us, we're relevant again, we did a funny thing now. Please, for the love of God, our audience is not good enough. Simpsons did reference of all kinds with their episodes, like with Cape Fear being a reference to Cape Fear, of course, or just little moments that are neat and fun, like
remember the bat to see?
Nice meeting you.
And of course, there's the Halloween episodes that everyone remembers being a world big reference to the horror film genre, and some specific movies like The Shining.
I'm Mike Wallace, I'm Marley Saper, and I'm Ed Bradley. All this and Andy Rooney tonight at 60 minutes.
What made them so special is that they had this Simpsons touch to them. The sparks of motivation and creativity of the writers is what made the reference good. Like, if you think about it, the episodes based on older films don't need you watching that film first to enjoy the episode fully, because they knew how to write a story around the reference and use their characters correctly for it. Nowadays though, well, for starters, the Treehouse of Horror episodes now are just a bunch of references to movies, not all from the horror genre, and they are just plain boring. Because now they focus too much on the reference part and less on the let's make an entertaining and fun story part. Sometimes they are completely awful, sometimes not so much. As for the reference on the main show, well, do you remember the opening for this video? Yep. It happened 2 times. Or sometimes they just go mentioning other shows, movies and video games from time to time to do boring stuff such as
Intelligence that writes TV recaps.
Stranger Things suffers from Season 2 fatigue.
It's clear that I regret that one, since the main episode based on Stranger Things, they just feel really out of place now, and concerning full episodes based on something, well, I already mentioned how Holland, which is just plain boring, in a musical that just wants to make you sleep. Look, it doesn't have to be something based on something current, new or hip to suck. What makes it suck is how they fail at making stories for this, because of the lack of motivation and their Flanderized at Springfield, like Heartbreak Hotel being a disaster because it's based on the stupid premise of Marge and Homer being a toxic marriage.
Yo, what's their names?
I don't know their names.
They just got eliminated from the show. It took them 5 weeks, not 5 minutes.
And there are just those moments of wanting to break the fourth wall, but really badly executed, like...
And Homer, he is back with Mom. You can watch us tomorrow at hulu.com.
In the end, the writer simply can't make reference work because everything else in the show is broken, and now they just want to somehow get relevant again. If you asked me, hey, what are the old Simpsons about? I would gladly answer. They were a comedy sitcom like no other, defining that generation, inspired many, and somehow was able to love and made fun of the pop culture of their time. But if you will ask me, what are the Modern Simpsons about? I will just answer, it's a mediocre sitcom on Fox. The Simpsons knew exactly what they wanted to be, and how they wanted to achieve it, even with various groups of writers involved in the other Simpsons. The essence of what the show was managed to be kept on for a long time. They had characters, they had their style of comedy, they had their morals, until the downfall started. So, what happens when your characters are nothing but a characteristic and you have no idea of what to do anymore? You need to gather ideas, but sometimes people like to copy ideas instead. I think everyone remembers the bizarre time where the Simpsons started to try to be Family Guy because they thought it was hip and cool with their audience, adding more to the Flanderization of the characters, making lemmer jokes each time, writing stupid premises, and they went for the body horror. This shit that was a characteristic of other adult cartoons of the time was for some reason adapted for The Simpsons, and not even for a Halloween episode. After all, Scorpion Tail is a normal episode. And I'm aware this kind of shit still happens every now and then. It's clear that the writers and the staff involved in the show lost focus on what the Simpsons were, and it became this bad parody of itself with copied characteristics from shows and badly adapted pop cultures. We went from let's make an entertaining story that involves the dynamic of our characters to make comedy, satire, and deliver a message if possible, while doing a fun homage or parody of another work, if we can think of a good way of doing it, to let's just copy what Family Guy did last week and force in a pop culture trend because yes. And right now, the Simpsons don't even know what they want to be. After their I want to do what other shows do phase, they became completely hollow, just existing there and nothing else, like ghosts. I don't remember who said it, and I wish I did, to give proper credits to the quote, but The Simpsons went from parodying pop culture to becoming pop culture. Of course, being part of pop culture doesn't make something automatically bad. I will be a complete idiot if I say that, but the way The Simpsons do it is like they had this mediocrity mold and they had to submit to it, no changes allowed, to the supposed winning formula that someone believes that works, even if everyone else disagrees. And they just do it because it's a tradition at this point. It's one of the reasons why every episode just make you feel nothing, just tedious.
No, come along, Bort.
Are you talking to me?
No, my son is also named Bort.
Another word we could use to describe the old Simpsons is bold. They took a risk becoming a satire of the loved sitcom genre of the time, while making fun of stereotypes of multiple cultures and events, perhaps with not so much for as other media products at the time, but it was there and they were successful with it, because writers and producers had faith in the product they were making. We can mention some characters like the comic book guy and the university nurse as some commentary on behalf of the writers on their thoughts about that sort of culture, but you could actually find this on every character. Just look at Homer, an interesting take on the average American white married man of the time. The kind of characterization made the show interesting. It felt like it was alive because everyone has their good points, but also their flaws. Some more than others, and the writers knew exactly how to exploit them. They were in the collective mind of the world, people talking about them every day so much, both positives and negatives from different perspectives. They even became relevant enough to be mentioned on one of George Bush's speeches.
the American family to make American families a lot more like the Waltons and a lot less like the Simpsons.
Huh?
You can dig out some old forums and web pages, and you'll see that a lot of people didn't like The Simpsons because of the sort of show that it was, the way it made fun of some topics. But the writers just kept on going with their original ideas for what the show had to be like. What I'm trying to get at here is the show never suffered an alteration because of what the public thought about it, because they knew what they were doing. However, I think that everyone remembers a certain event that happened some time ago that made it very clear that they now fear the public. Yep, I'm referring to the drama that happened because of the problem with Apple. If you know what this thing is, it's a documentary by Hari Kondabolu, sorry if I didn't pronounce that correctly, an Indian comedian that expressed his feelings towards the character of Apu in The Simpsons and how it could be spreading the wrong message, saying it's one of the most representative Indian characters on television and for a long time the most popular. So yeah, you can imagine what happened right after. In my honest opinion, this shouldn't even be a problem. There's a big difference between satire and actually doing something harmful in media, but the line has been grayed out so much these past years that a lot of people actually started to feel the need to call out cases like this, even if by definition every character on the show follows sort of the same formula. Like I already said, Homer is an interesting take on the white American man. I get that there has been cases out of hand that actually can promote racism towards cultures and nationalities, but Apple wasn't that case. Anyhow, what's important is what happened to the show afterwards. The episode No Good Deed Goes Unpunished has a little moment that mirrors the opinion of the writers in a lazily greeting way.
It's hard to say. Something that started decades ago and was applauded and inoffensive is now politically incorrect. What can you do?
Some things will be dealt with at a later date.
If at all.
It's as subtle as the foreshadow of Sinestro in Green Lantern becoming evil. Just another example of the lack of creativity the show has left. But even if at some point the team agreed this wasn't something to make noise about, they took a really bad decision, eliminating the character from the show in a quiet way. I guess that in hopes no one will notice. You just don't see him anymore in any barely important roles, and he isn't even on screen. The voice actor apparently decided to not make the voice anymore unless the character can transition somehow. This is how much influence public opinion, at least if it's backed up by someone famous, has on the show now. This is not the only case. Star Raven that was pulled from circulation because its guest star was Michael Jackson. It's completely absent from Disney+. It may not be as noticeable at first, but this is another reason why the writers fail at making the show. They are put under some pressure by the executives to not go over the line to avoid controversy. From what I can recall, the last attempt they done at controversy satire is the Canada episode and this little segment.
Your wife has paid your bill, Mr. Simpson-san.
So for this point, you should be able to see why there's so much hate regarding the current state of The Simpsons. Everything that made the show what it was completely stripped away from it. They lost the transcendence they managed to achieve with the greatly greeting older episodes that are now on everyone's mind, not only on the USA, but in the whole world. It's not just some nostalgic fans not letting go, or people just jumping on the hate train because it's popular. The show has some big issues that no one in the team is willing to fix, mostly because Fox wants to keep making it dry. New audience won't watch the show because it's just a sitcom. It's there, standing, doing nothing at all that makes it worth your time, so they'll just change the channel, and if they stay, they'll just end up getting bored and hating it. And for the fans of what the show used to be like, it feels like an insult, honestly. Something that used to be so precious and influential is being completely destroyed. Yet, after a year with no ways of getting it back or getting it killed, it just feels so wrong. So, In my point of view, The Simpsons are on a disaster ride with no breaks. It will eventually end, maybe in the next few years when Fox finally gets tired of their cash cow, and people will only remember The Simpsons and episodes worthy of being remembered. We'll probably not even see 5% of the newer seasons in the collective mind when that happens, and the world will just move forward. But here's a little something in my mind. Call it a delusion or impossible route. I know there's no way of making them stop production of the show. It would be stupid asking for that. However, I think there's a way of possibly redeeming The Simpsons, or at least, realistically speaking, putting them out of their misery. The team has mentioned that they want to make a second movie when they decide to end the show, and there's where my idea starts. Start renewing the show for a new season, start making said movie to end The Simpsons as we know it right now. As for how it should be done, transition the characters as much as you can back to their original personalities. I know it's unrealistic to say go back to the original 90s attitude, but try to the best you can to bring life back to them. Make a villain, a good one. Maybe even use someone you already have in the show for it, like Mr. Burns, and whatever setting you use, whatever premise you wanna write. Make sure Springfield as a wall is involved. Don't repeat the same mistake you did with the first movie. The Simpsons are defined by Springfield, so everyone should be in that movie. And with everything said and done, the movie is produced and shown. If you manage to do it correctly, you'll go out with a bang. It's a risk, but one worth taking, and much better than just letting these zombies exist for a few more years. And of course, I know that you want to keep the money from everything Simpsons related coming in. So the way of doing it is rebooting the show. That's right, reboot the Simpsons. Make them go back to how they were, or give them new personalities and new life, but do something with them. And this time, make sure that time passes in Springfield. The characters can grow, both mentally and physically, because that's an issue with existing Simpsons, if you want to keep going as much as you did with them. You may say it's a stupid idea, but honestly, I would rather see them taking this risk and see this happen, than just keeping this alive. You will even free your writers and executives, since it's clear that they do not enjoy their work anymore because they are chained to a product they lost interest in to the point they don't understand and don't care anymore about it. And hey, even if it's a failure, what do you have to lose? It will probably last as much time as the remaining lifetime the current Simpsons have. I know I'm being unrealistically positive, but this is how I wish things could turn out for one of my favorite things, whenever it ends up happening. I'll keep my memories of the greatness of Walter Simpsons. It seems that I really had a lot to talk about this show, didn't I? So yeah, that was my first pseudo review of sorts. I know that I have to improve a lot, after all that was a mess, but hey, don't worry, I'm gonna do it. After all, I have many more of these in mind, especially the next review. Be on the lookout for that whenever that happens. I don't even want to imagine how much time it will take me, since this took me more time than it has shoved. I'm fucking ashamed of my time management. But hey, let's hope that somehow I interested my 2 viewers. And hey, if you see this, please consider sharing this video on your social medias. After all, for some reason the YouTube algorithm hates me so much that they won't put me in any searches or any recommendations anymore, since I did my Steam Hands video 2 fucking years ago. If you like this sort of stuff, subscribe, give it a like. It doesn't cost you anything, and it will keep you notified whenever I drop some new hot content on this channel, some epic content. Yeah, I'm mostly a streamer, like it says there in the banner, so if you're interested in some quality gameplay, go follow me on my Twitch right here. We basically just play whatever game I want, chat, and sometimes even watch La Rosa de Guadalupe. By the way, that also reminds me that hey, I'm bilingual, so I'll eventually perhaps add some subtitles to this thing. If I have time for it, let's hope. I won't make any promises, as I know myself way too fucking good. But hey, I hope that this experience has been enjoyable, and I hope that we can see each other in the next video. So with nothing else to say, have a good day, a good night, about whatever you're having right now. And my word of advice for today will be, wear a fucking mask. It doesn't cost you so much. If you don't do it, enough will be real in 3 days. Bye bye.